Welcome to the Tuesday, January 16th, 2024, 5:30 council meeting. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a need to go into executive session tonight. May I please have a motion to amend the agenda for executive session to confer with the city attorney regarding pending or imminent litigation?
So moved.
I'll second.
Steve?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
Apologize.
We also have the minutes for last January 2nd. Can I please have an approval, please?
A motion to approve.
Second.
Jim?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
Next up, any hearing and public concerns? Item number 4 is the clerk treasurer's report.
Yes, in your packet and handed out before the meeting, council's received financial statements, bank reconciliation, and the like for the month ended and the year ended 12/31/2023. We have officially closed the year on the finance records in clerk treasurer's office and opened 2024. But I would entertain any questions you might have on these reports tonight or anytime in the future.
Well, I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes. Item number 5 is an ordinance. Please number and read.
Ordinance number 2, 2024, an ordinance authorizing the chief of police to enter into an agreement with Flock Group Incorporated.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Evening.
I believe you have the information in front of you already. We're simply asking for you to approve this so we can add to the 7 current cameras we have. That we're adding 7 additional, and this will put us into a contract with Flock for 5 years.
I'll move to suspend.
I'll second.
Steve?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
I'll move to approve. I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Was Rick the one that made the motion? No.
Made the motion.
He made the motion to suspend the rules. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Nice second.
Yes.
Rick and Jim, yep, thank you.
Item number 6 is an ordinance. Please number and read.
This is a third reading of ordinance number 62, 2023, an ordinance to accept the proposed planning and zoning code as prepared by Reveille Limited and approved by the City of Bryan Planning Commission.
Good evening. I have had no comments on this, so I'd like to go ahead and get this approved and start printing them out.
Yeah.
I'll move to suspend. I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
And I'll move to approve.
We don't need to
We
suspend
don't need to
because it's the
suspend.
third reading, so you were moving to
Okay.
approve.
Oh, I just had to move to accept. Oh, okay.
Thank
I'll
you.
move to accept, yes.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy. Item number 7 is a resolution. Please number and read.
Resolution number 1, 2024, a resolution authorizing the street commissioner of the City of Bryan, Williams County, Ohio, to apply for the following grants: H2 Ohio Rivers Initiative, Chloride Reduction Grants through the Ohio EPA, and others for the City of Bryan, Williams County, Ohio, as necessary.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Like it says, I'd like to apply for this grant to purchase a second brine application system, which is a tank in the back of the truck and then the sprayer and the dump truck, and then another 6,000 gallon storage tank that we have at our shop.
So the EPA wants us to use brine and not salt, correct? Ish? Yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
use more brine than salt.
okay.
I mean, they aren't against using salt, just, they want us to use less of it because of the runoff and the effects that it has on the rivers and Lake Erie,
Yep.
which the total of the two pieces of equipment are 42,000. That's what I'll be asking for.
I'll move to suspend.
I'll second.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
And Mary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We did approve.
Now we need a motion to approve.
I move to approve. Second.
Steve,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. Number 8 is a resolution, please number and read.
Resolution number 2, 2024, a resolution authorizing the sale of city-owned personal property by internet auction through GovDeals.
Council, you had previously allowed the city to use GovDeals to sell some of our personal property, especially equipment. That has been a successful venture for the city. With that being said, the ordinance or resolution you passed last year was only good through 2023, so we are asking for one for the year 2024.
I'll move to suspend.
Second.
Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Rick,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is a resolution, please number and read.
Resolution number 3, 2024, a resolution to accept equipment donation from the Stryker Police Department to the City of Bryan Police Department.
Council, Stryker Police Department is willing to donate 6 gas masks, pouch carriers, and additional equipment to outfit our response team once we get it up and running. So in total, it's around $2,600 worth of equipment. They weren't using it, they wanted to donate to us, so I'm just asking that you accept that.
Move to suspend.
I'll second.
John,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes.
Move to accept.
I'll second.
Rick,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Chief.
Item number 10 is a resolution, please number and read.
Resolution number 4, 2024, a resolution authorizing the fire chief of the City of Bryan to apply for grants for the City of Bryan Fire Department.
Good evening. You should have before you a resolution with a number of different grants that we will try to apply for. Some of these come open in very short order, so I'd like to get the approval so that when they do come open, that we can respond and hopefully get some good grants again this year.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'll move to suspend.
I'll second.
Jim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Move to approve. I'll second.
John,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good luck, chief.
Number 11 is a resolution, please number and read.
Resolution number 5, 2024, a resolution authorizing the city engineer of the City of Bryan, Williams County, Ohio, to apply for the following grants: Ohio Public Works Commission, Community Development Block Grant, and Small Cities through the Ohio Department of Transportation, and others for the City of Bryan, Williams County, Ohio, as necessary.
Good evening. Might as well jump on the grant bandwagon again. We're usually pretty fortunate in that, and we're going to discuss an Ohio Public Works grant that we will receive here in July and a little bit further down the list here. But I would request you suspend and approve, please.
I'll recommend a suspension of rules.
Second.
John,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes.
And I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Jim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Mary.
Yes. 12 is a resolution. Please number and read.
Resolution number 6, 2024, a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to advertise for bids for the project known as 2024 Asphalt Program.
$583,000 estimate right now. We're planning on doing a couple neighborhoods like Union Place, Autumn Chase, and a few other small places. Now, that's all subject to change. If the roads go to heck in other places before we bid it, we may change things up a little bit. But as of right now, that's what we're planning. So I would request you suspend and approve, and hopefully we'll get this bid in March or April.
Move to suspend? Second.
Steve?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
Move to approve?
I'll second.
Rick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes. Item number 13 is a resolution. Please number and read.
Resolution number 7, 2024, a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to advertise for bids for the project known as 2024 Pavement Marking Program.
Yearly project, last year's bid was $123,000. I'm anticipating, my estimate's around $147,000 this year. It's a little higher because we're actually going to stripe Main Street. We have not done Main Street since it was new 5-6 years ago, and it's getting to the point where the lines are not as reflective anymore, so it should be a little higher. So I would request you suspend and approve.
I'll move to suspend.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
And Mary?
Yes.
Move to approve?
Second.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jim? Steve?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes. Item number 14 is a resolution. Please number and read.
Resolution number 8, 2024, a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to advertise for bids for the project known as 2024 South Myers Street Sanitary Sewer Replacement.
This project's estimated at $550,000. We will receive $275,000, basically 50% of the project, in July for this through the Ohio Public Works. So we will probably bid this in June and award it after the 1st of July, after we get the grant agreements executed. But South Myers Street, south of East Wilson, neighborhood that needs its pipe bursting like we did with the big $2.1 million Horton Heights project. So it's an area that needs it, and we're looking forward to it.
I'll move to suspend. I'll second.
John?
Yeah.
Steve?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
And I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes. Next up is another resolution. Please number and read.
Resolution number 9, 2024, a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to advertise for bids for the project known as 2024 Street Improvement of East Village Addition.
This is a project we've done 2 test strips over in the East Village, just off of Palmer Lane, where the asphalt goes to heck. We pave it, and 2 years later, 3 years later, it breaks up because the stone is junk underneath. So what we're gonna do is we remove the stone, remove the asphalt, leave the curb in, put stone back in, put asphalt back in, do a little drainage underneath. This will be Palmer Lane, and it starts from Bavarian Lane, circles up north and around, and comes back down to Wilson Street, and also a chunk of Colonial from Auburn to Palmer. Estimated at $567,000, and hopefully that will be a permanent fix. We'll still have to repave it every 15, 20 years, but once we get rid of the junk stone and the junk subgrade, we shouldn't have to worry about it anymore.
Move to suspend.
I'll second.
Steve?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
And Mary?
Yes.
Move to approve.
And I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Got your
Appreciate it.
stuff all done now.
Not yet. Getting there. I got more, don't worry.
Item number 16 is a resolution. Please number and read.
Resolution number 10, 2024, a resolution to accept $23,550 donation from various sponsors to the Parks and Recreation Department for the Fountain City Amphitheater.
Good evening, council. In front of you, you should have a resolution to accept various donations from community members and businesses and corporations to support the Fountain City Amphitheater 2024 schedule.
I'll move to suspend.
Second.
Jim?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Rick?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
I'll second.
Steve?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
And Mary?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Item number 17 is an ordinance. Please number and read.
Ordinance number 3, 2024, an ordinance providing for annual appropriations for the city of Bryan for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2024, and declaring an emergency. It seems awfully early in the year to do a supplemental appropriation, but because the nature of the monies that Ben just spoke about are donations, it's kind of how we like to do it, so people know the money is being appropriated and the place where they gave the money for. So that's what this ordinance does, is appropriates the $23,550 that was referenced in the last piece of legislation.
I'll move to suspend. Second.
John?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
And I'll move to approve.
And I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes. Item number 18 is an appointment.
Council, we have 2 letters for reappointment to Planning and Zoning Commission. I would ask that you actually motion for these at the same time. It does not need 2 separate motions. One is for Jackson Short, and the other is for Bob Carter. They're signing up for a 6-year term, again, on our Planning and Zoning Commission, ending December 31st, 2029. We are respectfully requesting that you continue to allow them to volunteer for our Planning and Zoning Commission, and also thank both gentlemen. They both were filling some terms before, so this is their first 6-year, but they have been on our Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'll move to approve. I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
Thank you.
Up next is item number 19, the annual report from wastewater.
Evening, council.
Evening.
Evening.
All right, it's that time of year to get started on the year-end reviews.
You got the short straw. Got to go first.
You know,
He chose this one.
I did.
Get it over with.
I got a story. When I was a kid and we'd get in trouble at my grandmother's house who babysat us, and there was 4 or 5 of us at times, I always took my spanking first just to get it out of the way. So here I am tonight to deliver this. Yeah, that's right.
You
I
know, her
always took it
hand
last
was
because I
less
hoped we got
tired
rid
at
of
the
the energy.
beginning.
Yeah, but you know, depending on how it went, how she was feeling that day, she could be angrier by she got to the end. You know?
Oh, yeah. I always thought
There's
that about
also the
energy.
other train of thought, which is you feel sorry by the time you get through all these crying kids. So I don't know. That was the method to my madness, anyways. All right, so the picture that we always use here in a couple of years, we'll have a new picture of a new building for you, but as of right now, that's still what's standing out there. That's the wastewater treatment plant. The usual overview that I give you of Google, and this is an older, it's like a 2015, so there are some things on there that are missing from this overview. Someday I hope to get you a nice new Google shot that has everything on there that the plant's made up of.
Well, you know, our fire chief has a drone.
And he's come out and done some work
Yeah.
for us,
We
yeah.
can get the UV stuff on there.
Yeah, we will. Okay, so operational notes for 2023. We had a total flow into the plant of just over 550 million gallons. 2022, 578, so we're down about the equivalent of a month's worth of flow into the plant under normal conditions, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly what causes that, but I do think a lot of it can be attributed to what the engineering department's doing with the sewer replacement. And the sewer that you approved tonight is a good example. They're leaky, and these things, they do save money over the long haul. It's not easy to see it right in the beginning, but it's a good investment for town. Our daily average for 2023 was just over 1.5 million gallons a day, just a shade lower than 2022. We did just over 2 million gallons of digested Class B solids, Dewater and thermal drying is what we do out there, which kind of pelletizes the material. And that created 266.5 tons of Class A biosolids. And then 2022, we were up a little bit this year over 2022. Reason being for that is we have the dewatering project that's getting ready to kick off. We had hoped that it was going to start today, but got delayed by manufacturing again. So we had spent the last couple months of the year trying to get ahead of the material there. So that explains why we have a little bit more than what we did last year. Treatment efficiencies, suspended solids, we have a 95.6 removal rate, which is, all of these numbers are solid, really good numbers. It's kind of speaks to the quality of the design of the plant. Carbonaceous biochemical oxygen demand, 98.1% removal, which is a super number. Ammonia removal, 97.3. Phosphorus, 93.3. And ammonia and phosphorus, I would note, two of the biggest issues in Lake Erie right now. And everything you hear about Lake Erie and the algae blooms being driven by those two materials. So wastewater plants are low-hanging fruit to get them to clean the water because it's a point source rather than being spread out. So we do a good job with it. EPA has a new permitting system now to kind of control the phosphorus. We tried to control the phosphorus load to Lake Erie, and where we fall in it is we meet that permit in a big way. So luckily, once we saw the numbers come out, it was always a mystery until we saw the numbers. I was a little bit worried about it, but the way that our plant operates, like we're well within the permitting system, so no issues there.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Carbonaceous biochemical oxygen, what is that?
Okay, what that is the way that you measure strength at a wastewater plant is called BOD, biochemical oxygen demand. That's how much dissolved oxygen in water it takes for the microorganisms to break down the material to its safe basic form. And it's a 5-day test. Carbonaceous is just carbon-based material that we're looking at specifically in that test. But that's a 5-day test. We put it on, 5 days later we take it off and we measure how much oxygen has been depleted in the test. And the way that test was originally designed, it was designed in England. And it's 5 days from London, in the Thames River, from London to the open ocean. That's why it's a 5-day test. So it's kind of something, it's just a throwback. It doesn't necessarily have to be 5 days, but that's the way that we do it. So it's a little known fact usually people are somewhat interested in. Okay, we had a cost per treatment or per gallon treatment of 0.4 cents per gallon. So it's a decent price. We've spent more this year because we've been in design issues and upgrades to the plant, so there's a little money that goes out there, but still a respectable number for treatment. And then from here out, the usual, I just give you kind of some looks at the different things that we work on out there in our equipment. We had to do an inner bearing replacement. This is part of the equipment that's going to be replaced in the dewatering project. We'd kind of hoped that we could limp these things along and not have to put any money into them, but unfortunately, we did have one bearing that we had to replace. And this is a look at the inner rotating assembly of that centrifuge. Go ahead, Mayor. This is the breakdown to get to the inner bearing in the thing. These rotating assemblies spin at 4,000 RPM. They're it's a centrifuge, so everybody knows kind of how that works. But the inner bearing versus the material that goes through it is pretty hard on them, and eventually, you have to replace any bearing, anything that's moving that fast. So that was one of the projects we worked on. That's a closer look at that inner bearing once it was open. Okay. This is our thermal drying unit that we run our biosolids through. The guys tore down one of the main bearings and cleaned it out, and this is just kind of a daily you know, could be any day that you get this kind of maintenance that the guys do out there. It wasn't an actual breakdown, it was just a clean out, and I thought it might be interesting to take a look at just what the guys do there. That's with the cap off the bearing, you can kind of see that grease has definitely seen the end of its life. So they clean all that out. That takes a good day and a half to 2 days to get through the project. That bearing's probably about 2 foot diameter, so it's a big, heavy piece of equipment. Okay. This is probably a project that you are familiar with. This is a few weeks back, or probably more into the month zone at this point, but we had an emergency repair on one of our screw pumps, and I came to you, John helped me, and we had to get some money appropriated to get this going. We lost the grout underneath these screws, and so this was a project we weren't counting on, but it came along anyhow. Just a couple of shots of how it was going. This was obviously when we were picking the screw pump itself out of the trough, and it's on the ground there. That project got delayed like every project that seems to happen. That's the condition of the flights. You'll notice a little bit of a bubble there to the right of that flight. We sent that in. We didn't think that was too bad, but once that got up to Canada to the rebuilding facility, they had some questions about the integrity of the pipe itself, the tube of it. We didn't think it was too bad, but we did. We went to the trouble of having a company come in and do some testing on the tube. We didn't want to put all that money into it and have it fail and have to start over again. So it turns out everything was okay. It was a little dicey there at the beginning. Their engineers at the rebuilding company said, no, we don't think it's any good. And we disagreed, went back and forth, but we got a disinterested third party in, and they said, no, there's no issue with that. So we're back to where we were at, but it's probably still going to be well into spring before we have that pump back in operation again because of the cold weather. And that's getting itself onto a truck and heading on up to Canada. Just a couple of other miscellaneous maintenance events to kind of shut out the report. This is the guys replacing we have air filters. We have big blowers out there that feed air to the activated sludge portion of the plant. And just like your air filter in your car, you have to change those out when they get dirty. So BMU comes out, helps us swap out those filters. Chain replacement on the dryer. This is the other end of the dryer from where we were looking earlier. And that's just the guys in there. We get roller chain and it wears, just, you know, wear and tear from hours of operation, and they're swapping that out that day. So we thought we'd take a picture of that for you. And last but not least, this is our grit removal system. This is right at the head of the plant. And all the water that comes into the plant passes through this tank, which is normally full, just clear up to where you can see the 90, the elbow in that pipe. You can kind of see where the water line typically would be there. And what that system does is you get sand, gravel, grit, just things that are really terrible to go through a pump. Goes into this chamber. This chamber slows the water velocity down so that heavy stuff can settle out in there. Well, every now and then you get things into this particular tank that you don't want in there, and you can't see it because there's still just a little bit of water, but there's a pump intake down there that our operator is working on, and you'll get a pop bottle or you'll get a broken piece of sewer pipe will get in there, and then that plugs that pump intake and the thing doesn't work. You got to tear it all down and get in there and clean everything out. So that was the joy that they got to experience that day. And that happens about 3 or 4 or 5 times a year, depending on how lucky we are. But we've kind of got that. It's down to a science now. We've done it enough. So that's it. If anybody has any questions, glad to answer. If not, we'll let Mary swing the gavel when she's ready.
Curious question for you.
Sure.
When I was looking at the photo, it's a pole, is what you call it, where the screws and everything are, that you sent out to have worked on. How long does one of those last?
I would say, I think we put those in, the screw that's coming out of there, I think we put that in brand new. We'd replaced the original ones, we'd reflighted them once, And then the second time around, we replaced them, and I think that screw was 2013. So it's over 10 years. That's not as long as I would like to see, but that particular chute, that's our number 2 screw pump, when they re-grouted that, whenever you pull a screw out and you put new flights on it, you have to tear all the grout out underneath of it, because that's what makes the seal between it's an Archimedes screw, so it has to be relatively tight. Well, the grouting, for whatever reason, when the guys tore it out this time, like it just came out in chunks. Like you could tell it was bad. There was some, I don't know if it was chemistry, not sure what happened. I know that it was done in the summertime, so it wasn't cold weather that had ruined that grout. It looked good to look at it, but the structure of it was not good. So what I think has happened with that, because that was carbon steel, those flights are carbon steel and they're painted with a heavy epoxy paint, but still if you start rubbing them, that takes that paint off and then they start to corrode. And I think probably what had happened is that grout had started to fail in small pieces that you wouldn't necessarily notice were gone, but it would take that paint right off the tips of those flights. And then that allowed it to start corroding early. 10 years is a little short by my standard for it from what I've seen over the years. I would say more like 15 to 18 years is probably more reasonable. We're going to try, this time around, we're going to try stainless steel flights welded onto a carbon steel tube, so to get away from that. It was a little bit of an upcharge, but if that'll take you from a 10-year product to a 20-year product, like the payback is incredible over it. So that's the plan. This is an experimental one, but if it works, we'll end up doing the other 2 when they come due.
Just curiosity, I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but how do they do that? Do they peel that old screw off and then put new on?
Yeah.
Or do they just build on what's there?
No, just torch it right off of there, grind everything down, and then I originally was under the impression that they just had a big machine that just cranked out that screw in one piece and they slid it over that tube and welded it. But what they actually have is an old guy that's been there for a long time, and he uses a metal brake, and he makes those pieces 4 feet at a time. He's just really good at it, and you can do the math, and know what the radius is going to be based on the circumference. And this guy, I guess, is just like, he's their machine, and he's about irreplaceable. And he bends those things 4 feet at a time, fits them up on there, and just keeps tweaking them until he gets them where they need to be, and that's how it's done. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
That takes us to where we go around the room. Mayor?
I do have a couple things. First of all, I would like to thank Andy and Bryan. You guys really, especially Andy, worked on that zoning code for the last few years with Reveille, and I think we came out with something that will work really well for our constituents, our council, and the engineering office. So thank you both for that. Also would like to thank Wes, Josh, and his staff. They run a really good ship over at wastewater. They don't have the most glamorous job. The plant is very clean. Wes is a very solid leader in wastewater. He's always very comfortable with having the conversations. He's obviously very intelligent. He's gained the trust of a lot of our local factories. He's very honest and open. If there's an issue, they come to him, he goes to them, and works very cordially with them to correct anything that's causing us any concerns. So just like to salute that team. Thank you again on a great annual report. Good job going first. Now you can watch everyone else in the coming meetings. And then also, I just want to let you know, because I think we all found out on Facebook that Rite Aid is going to be closing on the 25th. Our office received some calls, so I reached out to the state at Department of Commerce Liquor Control. Got a gentleman named Blair, who is actually who we need to speak to, and they have decided, because they have a state liquor permit in there, it's a state liquor store, and what you may or may not know is a lot of our restaurants and vendors, they actually go and buy their alcohol there on a state permit. So they're working through communicating with them at our request to let them know where they can go in the interim. They've also decided to fast track a request for proposal. So they're advertising, I believe, in the Bryan Times starting tomorrow. So any business, pharmacy, store in the community, if they want to apply to potentially hold that license, that advertisement will be seen there. And I will try tomorrow, because Blair just left me another voicemail late this afternoon, to contact some of them. We did have a few years ago a convenience store pharmacy that did call downstairs to the city attorney and ask for a Trex at that time. They were advised no, but I do think that they have the desire to have a liquor permit, so this may be a good fit for their area. And so we'll try to make sure that gets spread out. So if you are in a convenience store or a pharmacy or anything like that, you want to just mention that ad and that they need to apply if they want to do a request for proposal, in hopes that we can replace that state liquor store and the convenience it gives to our restaurant owners throughout the county. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
I have nothing else tonight.
Bryan?
No, thank you.
Chief?
No, thank you.
Andy? Ben?
No, thank you.
The other chief?
Nothing.
Tyson?
No, ma'am.
Wes?
No, ma'am.
You sure?
I'm positive.
Newspapers?
Good, thanks.
Rick?
I just want to thank Jackson Short and Bob Carter for being willing to serve on the zoning commission. Thank you, Andy, and your crew for all of the work that you did on the zoning, and congratulations on getting that passed. And thank you, Wes, for a great presentation. That always intrigues me, the way that that plant works out there, just because so much of it is just natural, and it intrigues me. So thank you for that presentation. That's all I have.
John?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all those who donated to the amphitheater. It's very much appreciated. Thanks to the Stryker Police for their equipment donation. We appreciate that. And also Chief Poole and Tyson for the grant applications, Chief Rusky for the work on the block agreement, Bryan for the city engineering grants, and also for John Lerner in the city clerk's office for all the various bidding needs that the city needs to go through. I don't think that that's given enough attention, so I wanted to give it a little attention, that it doesn't just happen as any of the supervisors without the city clerk and the mayor's involvement. Appreciate that. Also agreed, I want to thank Jackson and Bob for continuing work on the planning and zoning. It's a very important position. And also to Wes for his annual report. It's always very interesting and helpful to know how that whole process works.
Jim?
Oh, okay. I'd like to thank the donors for, their donation to the amphitheater. I'm looking forward to a great year. Thank Bob Carter and Jackson Short. Wes, great presentation. Andy, thank you. And that's it.
Steve?
Wes, thanks for my first annual report. Appreciated it. That was good, very informative. To all those who donated towards the amphitheater and such, appreciate it. It's a nice opportunity that Bryan has, and I know that we've used it as Bryan City Band, and we've used it as Bryan City Schools, and I really do appreciate the facility and all that it has to offer for us. And to all, the chiefs and everybody who went for the grants, appreciate that a lot. Grants are a great tool and a great opportunity, and listening to what we've got planned for them, it's impressive, very impressive.
I would like to thank the street department for their work on Friday night with getting the streets all cleaned up. Excellent job. I know you guys get a lot of abuse for things that you supposedly don't do, but you guys did a great job of getting the streets cleaned up. Thank you so much. I'd also like to thank all the department heads for applying for the grants that they do, because it saves the city a lot of money. I also would like to thank all the sponsors for the amphitheater. Without you guys, we wouldn't have entertainment that we do out there. Thank Wes for his always informational presentation and getting it out of the way. And also thank Andy and engineering for what you guys did with the zoning. Other than that, I need to have a motion to enter executive session to confer with the city attorney regarding pending or imminent litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Steve?
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Mary.